Well, happy Saturday evening to you. Chris Hare, the Crypto Cowboy, bringing you a Saturday evening update. We're going to cover all the charts and figure out where this thing's going. If you're liking these videos, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, hit that bell notification. You'll get updates as soon as we upload a video. And to get this out of the way, these videos are not for financial advice. They are for entertainment, educational purposes only. Use caution when trading crypto. You could lose all of your money. All right, going into the charts. I had a good day today. Didn't do a whole lot. Worked around the ranch. Worked on my computer. Had some issues with everything kind of lagging while I was shooting these videos. And I shot one 2 or 3 times. So if you saw one pop up and then deleted, that's what was going on. Just wanted to make sure they're right. Looking at crypto bubbles. ZEC, whatever that is, 30% up. MYX, 21% down, kind of a mixed bag. Everything kind of ran up here a little bit. So some of these things are red, some of them are green. Trying to figure out a direction here of what's going on, how we get there. Crypto Fear and Greed Index, 58, coming up, nearly to greed. We were almost in fear the other day. Neutral, now we've kind of moved back up. Kind of expected with the pump. Bitcoin liquidation heat map, you've got a big pocket of liquidity sitting up here. From about 122 to 124. But you've also got the same amount of liquidity to the downside. So we're just kind of sandwiched in the middle. It's really hard to find a sense of direction right where we are. The charts will tell us more, but I like to get those things out of the way so you know where the potential moves are. And here we are on the charts. Bitcoin on the 4-hour. Let's take a look. Completed 3 waves. 1, 2, 3. Working on 4. I think that's a retest. If anything, looking at liquidation levels, we may come up here and try to tap 124. Fill the rest of that wick out. It's sure a possibility right here. But I think ultimately we head on down and complete this wave 4. I don't think this is the end of it by any means. Top of wave 1 sits at about 118,000. I would suspect that's where we'll bounce. I don't think that we're just gonna drop on down. If we do, I can see us grabbing 116. They can drop down into the top of these, but they can't stay there. I also think this is some kind of extended wave, that maybe wave 1 was finished right around 116.7. And that would justify the means to come down and grab this fair value gap. I think this is some kind of extension in a B wave. Then we did a WXY and did another ABC here. So this could not be the top. This could be the top of wave 1, and that would explain a lot more. But that gives you an idea. If we do invalidate that, and we get down here to the bottom of this channel, I would watch it close. We're pretty much at an invalidation point there. And I would suspect you'd move down to bottom targets by then, 104.5 to 99.3. I think that's a low probability, maybe a 20% chance of that. Can't rule it out, but the option's there. Once we bounce off of this, I'm not going to show a lot of daily charts tonight because I really think we're towards the end of the move, guys. I think this is probably towards the end of the bear market. Not as good as I thought it would be, but I mean, it is what it is. And it begs the question, and I'll talk about this in a later video when we get to the top and start thinking about down moves, that this may be some kind of short cycle where you hear that all the time, that this year was supposed to be like a super cycle. So technically you could drop down to like 90,000 and maybe bounce back up. I think that's a little hopeful, but it's something we're going to watch for sure. But that's a later video. Let's get through these moves. Then we'll really try to figure out where we're going in this bear market. If in fact it's a bear market, if we don't just retrace a little and make another run. Wave 4 on the daily, or the weekly, I'm sorry, was super shallow, super bullish. So maybe that's what's happening. Maybe that wave, you know, that correction into the bear market isn't just as aggressive as it typically is. Ethereum on the 4-hour. Like I said, 4-hour charts are going to tell us pretty much the story that we're looking for. Wave 1, wave 2, completed wave 3. It's possible we retest, just kind of the way Bitcoin looked with the liquidations. They might want to wipe out late shorts here. Then we're going to move on down. I really like this 50 smooth moving average on the 4 hour, right around $4,309. That puts us at the bottom of the channel, gives us a good opportunity to bounce, work on up to 5,300 to 5671. Like I said, if we fail the bottom of these lines, we do have to consider an option of 3960 to 3785. Or this is all one big wave one, and we come down and test this 200 and bounce from there. So there's a couple options if we lose this. It's not the end of the world. These things do like to come down, drop out of them, then bounce up. Then basically we would adjust our trend, our bottom trend accordingly, just like that, to wherever it bounces. And that may be a more realistic picture there. Moving on to XRP. Charts are pretty easy tonight. I don't want to worry about down moves or if we're going higher until we hit these upper targets. This is a really good place in trading where you just play the move. You don't get ahead of yourself. I mean, we got a pretty healthy move, looks like, coming either way. I'm taking shorts on these, but I'll bail. I'll close out of them. They're small shorts. The risk reward was good. I took a lot of these up at the top. So yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking. You can see here on XRP, if we follow, you know, alts tend to follow each other. Completed one wave, 2, 3. Moving on down for 4. Looks like I would suspect we'd bounce around 292. We could drop down here. You see how this pennant I've drawn is still kind of pretty broad. These things like to fill out about 70%, guys. So that's going to put us right in that 618786 if we don't bounce sooner. I left this trend line right here because it touches. We don't have 3 touch points yet, so it's really hard to say. But yeah, let's watch this area really close. If we lose that line, then we know what's going on. We're looking for this fair value gap down here, and that makes this a big wave one. And some of these up targets may change. If we lose this 786, you're looking for 258, 245. If we hold it, move up, 3119, 3226 will be our first stop. Then we'll move on up 347, 362 to look for the top of the market. Moving into Solana on the 4 hour. Give everything time to load. Yeah, it's telling a great story here. Could probably move this trend up here along the bottom, bring it on up. I have it here because it lines up on some bottoms further down. I drew this top line here. When we break this thing, it's probably the end of our down move. We'll head to the upside. Got a target here, 218 to 224, all the way down to 207.81. We'll see. We'll see where that ends up. When we get a better B wave, I can get a better measurement and kind of figure it out. 200 smooth moving average sits at around 205. 50 sits around 220. We have to consider bounces in both the locations. Fair value gap here makes me think this 200 is going to come up. I think these moves are done by Monday. We got a full moon printing on Sunday night into Monday. Typically when they print, it goes down for just a little while and then they take off. Weekly invalidation is all the way down here at 188. So technically you could come down here. I don't see that happening. Like I said, those are low probability moves. I think the bigger probability is to find some support right in here and start working your way up. First stop would be 244 to 253, finishing out around 277 to 295. Moving on to ADA. Same scenario. Everything looks kind of the same. Fair value gaps are up here. That tells me this is probably a B wave. Gonna move. We could move on up, back up to 85 cents, retest these fair value gaps. And then we're gonna move on down. Bottom of the trend here. You see I've got an expanded wedge here, so that I think it's not as probable that we come up and tap those. Come down here and finish up somewhere around this invalidation point. 82 cents I think is a good bounce point. Like I said, if we lose it, we're looking at 74 to 70 cents. But if we bounce, first stop's going to be 87 to 91 cents. Then we'll head on up 101 to 108. Suey just took a short on this. Pretty interesting. Watched it run up and I thought, haha, I got you. And it's going to pay pretty good. Took a little higher leverage on it. 30x, sitting at its 58% profit so far. Pretty good trade. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. This was basically a retest. These things like to make, I call this a claw. At the end of wave 3, these are pretty obvious. and that's usually the end of your wave. So I waited on this one. I've been waiting on it since yesterday to see if it would run up and grab it, and it did. So yeah, I think we're kind of headed on our move. I put a little line in here. We're clearly trying to establish a trend there, so we'll watch that close. Puts you back at that 618. Downside targets. I've got a pretty big area drawn here, just like everything else. Just waiting on some candles to fill out here to kind of put my wedge in. I think what it's probably going to look like is more like a pennant. We're going to come down. That's a rough estimate. We're going to come down. We're going to fill 70% of this out, somewhere around 336. Take off to the upside, 373, 326, like we said. Top end targets, 415, 437. Like I said, can't rule out the bottom targets, but I think they're less likely. Chain link looks about the same as SUI. Probably, yeah, I've got an expanded wedge here. Looks like you could probably come back up, grab around 22, 23. Look for a short there. Stop loss above the fair value gap. Ride it on down. Your risk reward would be good enough. You could bounce off the 50. I really think we're going to come down to the bottom of these trends. That would be about 70% of that pin or that wedge. 2141 looks like a good target. If we lose that bottom trend, 1887 to 1773. But upper end targets, 2474, 2608's first stop, finishing out 2995, 3270. AVAX on the 4 hour. Like I said, we don't need to look at dailies right now. We're going to play this move by move. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, and you guys shouldn't either. Argue 1 to 2 ways. This is all a wave 1. Here's your wave 1. Working on wave 2 down. Doing our retest. Gearing up for wave 3, 4, and 5. Looking for a target, probably somewhere around the bottom of this channel, 2884. I got this short. This was a great short. Finished up about 400%. That's when I was kind of hung up. I went ahead and set my stop loss here. Took a lot of profit at the top. Set my stop loss at the 50, and when it lost it, it closed out. So I made a really good return on that trade. Like I said, 2882. If we lose that, 2583, 2425. Then we're going to head on. But I think we're looking for top targets here along that bottom trend. 3270, 3424. Final stop, 3869, 4186. Yeah, lots going on in the charts. I think we're bullish. I think we've got one more run. Obviously, that can change. Like I said, we'll play this move down. We'll play this move up if the opportunity presents itself. Once we get there, we'll reassess, kind of figure out where we're at. So before we wrap up tonight, I want to show you one more thing. I post all of these charts in the crypto school. Probably the best place you'll ever go to learn. Showed off my SUI trade. Entry was 365 on it. Pretty nice trade. Everybody's trying to figure it out. Somebody nailed Aster on a short a couple of times. Somebody was asking what I had. I went ahead and shared the charts. And then, like I said, all of this stuff is in my own section in the Discord. Running a little slow. There we go. Popping up. You can see I've got charts posted there. Posted my videos. All kinds of little bits and pieces. Trump's signing an executive order on the digital assets for a crypto strategic reserve that includes XRP, SOL, and ADA. That's part of the reason I think that we may have some kind of short cycle. Institutional money has been so bullish that I don't see them letting it drop down that low, but I also see them continuing to buy. Just because we're in a bear market, they don't care. Moving on down, shared a little quote today by Theodore Roosevelt, The Man in the Arena. One of my favorite quotes. I study that thing every day. I read it every day. It's so good to do. Yeah, and then I've got my gains when I took profit today. Yeah, it's all in there. It's good stuff. But yeah, you can find a link to that Discord. You can find a link to my X. You can find a link to Big Unex, all in my description. Go ahead and check that out. Like I said, like this video, subscribe, hit the bell notification, comment on this video. Tell me anything. Tell me what you did today. If you want a chart looked at, comment on there. I'll put it in my lineup. I sure don't mind. But yeah, come hang out with us in that crypto club. We did a voice chat last night, lasted 3.5 hours, and we basically eliminated every possible move that couldn't happen on Bitcoin to get to where we are right now. But yeah, I'm rambling on. I'm going to shut this thing down, sign off. Chris Hare, the Crypto Cowboy, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you down the road.